Hey, what's up? So, I was going to talk about Abraham, but actually, I'm just going to read to you what really happened with the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. Everybody knows, well, not everybody, but if you know the root word for Sodom, you kind of guess what they did there, but it was a lot more than that. So, I'm actually just going to read it and tell you what it is. This is from Jasher, and I'm sure there's other texts that talk about it, but I'm just gonna read out of here. These baby feet. I'm trying to put him to sleep. So sorry if you hear the tapping in the back. But hopefully he falls asleep to the sound of my voice. Anyways, so this is Jasher 18. Whew. It says, in those days, all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah and of the whole of the whole five cities were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. So the way the cities were set up, there was like five of them, and they're all in this row on a plain. Um, it was it's referred to as the plain. So there's this nice lavish area. They had like a little ravine that where the river flowed, and there's just all this they call it herbage, but there was just all this land that was good for livestock and growing, all kinds of fruit and trees and I'm sure other things, but it was just a really good land for livestock, and it was on this plain. This is where Abraham lived, and so there was Sodom, Gomorrah, Zor, and two other cities, and they're just literally on our whole row. But I believe the city of Sodom and the city of Gomorrah were the largest of those cities on that block. So think of it like the Vegas Strip, but the biggest hotels were Sodom and Gomorrah. um, all right, so I'm going to read to you, and of course, the root word that we get for the Sodomites are what you can imagine, but there was other things, and I'm going to read them to you. So, all right. Um, and they provoked the Lord with their abominations, and they strengthened in, okay. And they had in their land a very extensive valley, about a half day's walk, and it, okay, that's talking about that, and all the people. Okay, so they had this nice little valley where they had a lot of water flowing, kind of like where they could have a festival, right? And it says, and all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times a year with their wives and children and all belonging to them. So that's probably like their handmaids and their servants and their animals. And they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. And in the time of rejoicing, they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives and some virgin daughters and their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. And each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor and did not say a word. Bruh, get all the way out of here. Get all the way out of here. So they, and they was messing with them animals too. Oh, God. And they did so from morning to night, and they afterward returned home, each man to his house, and each woman to her tent. So they always did this 4 times a year. Also, when a stranger came into their cities and brought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of them there, the people of these cities would assemble, men, women, and children, young and old, and go to the man and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought to the land. And if the owner of the goods quarreled with them, saying, what is this work which you have done to me? Then they would approach to him one by one, and each would show him a little which he had took, and taunt him with it, saying, I only took this little which thou didst give to me. And when he heard from them all, he would rise and go from them in sorrow and bitterness of soul. Robbing and stealing. Robbing and stealing. This baby is not sleepy. Ugh. You want to lay with the mamas? Come here. What are you doing with your eyes? It's pretend sleep. Oh, that is my sweeties. Look at my sweetie. I just love him. He's so awesome. And he's cute and he smells amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry. I love you. Hold on. All right. And uh so they would the strength everybody that came to the town, they would leave with bitterness of soul. And the people would rise and go after him and drive him out of the city with great noise and tumult. So not only do they jack him, they taunt them and then they follow him out the city and just embarrass them, right? This is to any stranger. And there was a man from the country who was leisurely going on the road, seated upon his donkey, which carried a fine mantle of divers and colors. Okay, so this one goes into a story about somebody who went into a man's house, and when nobody let him reside in their homes, because when somebody would go there, they would trick them. They would trick them out of their goods and services. And so they go into this one story about how cruel it was. And this one got to me because if you've ever known a narcissist, they will gaslight you. And if you don't know what it is and you're naive to the fact that people can be so evil, like straight up evil, and they know they're bad and they will do it anyways because there's no consequence. If there's a bad outcome, there's still no real consequence. And that's the heart of a narcissist, that, oh, even if there's drama, it's just not that bad. So this story goes into a man that came into town and he carried a mantle of divers. I don't know what that is. Of It says diverse, but I wonder if that means diverse colors. Like it was a colorful mantle and it was bound up by a cord. I don't even know what a mantle is. I'm sorry. And it was bound up by a cord on his donkey. And the man was on his journey passing through the street of Sodom, and the sun set in the evening. And he remained there in order to abide, but no one would let him in the house. And at that time in Sodom, um, one of the most wicked and mischievous men, one skillful to do evil, and his name was H.E.E.D, or H.E.E.D. He-Man. And he lifted up his eyes and saw that the traveler was in the street of the city. And the man said to him, I am traveling from, here to there. And now that it's sunset, nobody would let me enter. Which, that was a law in Sodom, is that you don't let anybody in your house. You don't show kindness to strangers. Okay. Hold on. Because there's a few different things, a few different stories. Okay. And okay, so he goes, oh, and then he says to him, I'm traveling. And he says, well, why don't you come to my house? He tells the traveler, why don't you come into my house and stay for a little while? And the traveler was saying, yeah, even though I have my own bread, I have my own food for me and my livestock, or not livestock, my donkeys, nobody would even let me just stay the night. And he said, you could stay here and you can abide all night. Undo the mantle and I'll put it in the house for safekeeping, right? So go down. And in the morning, the traveler rose up early and to continue on his journey, when H.E.E.D said to him, wait, comfort thy heart with a morsel of bread and then go. And the man did so and remained with him. And they both ate and drank together during the day, right? And then since it got real late in the day, H.E.E.D was like, why don't you just stay another night? So I guess he gave him food and he said, and he let him stay that night, and they ate and they drank that day. And then, so he stayed over again. The traveler stayed over again. And then he woke up early in the morning. And he was about to leave. And H.E.E.D again was like, just have some more breakfast with me. Stay. They ended up talking and he wasted his time and stayed there all day. And then her dad was like, why don't you just stay another night? And the traveler was like, nah, I really want to go. Even though, wait, did he stay a third night? He said, no, 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 I really want to go. And then her dad said, oh, then the wife comes out and randomly picks a fight. And she said, oh, you let this man stay here all this time and he didn't even want to pay you anything. And and then her dad sends her out. So that's kind of like a show. Is like, oh, the wife comes in with the drama as if the traveler owes them something for their hospitality, even though they offered it all as a means of, here, it's okay that we're giving this to you. But now the wife is acting like, oh no, you should have been trading something already with this. um so Um, and so her dad's like, nah, wife, be silent. So the traveler is getting his stuff together, and then he goes and asks her dad, hey, can I have that mantle back with the cord so I can tie it up and be on my way? Because I'm not going to stay another night, but thank you for your hospitality. And then her dad is like, oh, you want a dream interpretation of the mantle and the cord? Okay, well, the mantle means this and the cord means that. And the guy's like, no, I'm asking for my belongings back, my mantle that you said you would keep in your house for me. And he's like, no, there's no mantle, but I usually charge people for these dream interpretations. But for you, you can just pay me a little bit less for the dream interpretation of this mantle. And the guy is like, that's straight gaslighting, and that's what narcissists be doing. The reason why this bothered me, and the reason why I made me talking about it, is because my experience with a narcissist was horrible. I did not understand that somebody could just be this, like, it's just evil. And it even says, one skillful to do evil, a mischievous man, wicked and mischievous man. That's what a narcissist is. They're wicked and mischievous. They know it, but they're hoping you don't know. They'll use your kindness because they think you're stupid, and we are stupid for being that naive to just. But if you're the person that's not the narcissist, don't ever stop being kind just because somebody like a narcissist has abused your kindness, because they're just being, it's the nastiness inside of them. They want to stomp out your light. It's ridiculous that people can be like that. It's ridiculous. Um, but don't stop being a good person on the account of them being so evil and malicious and making you feel crazy. Um, and like this guy. So anyways, this guy, he goes, bro, I did not ask you for a dream interpretation. I want my stuff back. And feeling crazy, he goes to the judges and he says, hey, I came to your city, not knowing how corrupt they were. He's like, I came to your city, and I asked for my belongings back that this kind stranger, held in his house, and now he won't give it back to me so I can be on my way. And then her dad goes, I gave him a dream interpretation, and he's kind of going on this thing where, like, about this dream interpretation. I gave him a dream interpretation about a mantle and a cord, and he's still not paying me. So the judge, being wicked, and her dad being well known in that city, that's his city, the judge obviously sided with her dad and was like, okay, well, you didn't pay this man for the dream interpretation. And the guy's like, there's no dream interpretation. So, you know, that's again what a narcissist does. They set it up to where when they want you to feel crazy, they make you go into the presence of somebody that they've already primed to be part of their plan or whatever. That could be their family, it could be their friends that they've been plotting against you. It's all demonic in nature. It really is. But they already know, what your next move is going to be, because they're cunning, like a snake, like a serpent, like their father the devil. I mean, come on now, let's really talk about it. um if you're going to go so far as to drive somebody crazy, you already know what you're driving them to do. It's complete manipulation. So he's manipulating this man like some of you have been manipulated by somebody that meant to do you harm, that meant to make you feel crazy and drive you. That's what it means to drive you insane, to drive you, and they direct it where they want you to go. They either want you to lash out, um, try to go public, try to go and call the police, try to get the law involved. They know that they know what you're going to do next, and they're counting on it. They're counting on it so that at that point they have their next step. So while you're kind of like off balance and beside yourself and you're not really sure what to do, you're just like, oh my God, clinging to help. They're calm because they already know what to expect. They already know they're pushing you to this thing, and they're going to go there. But you have to, if you don't know who you're dealing with, you've probably already lashed out. You probably already overreacted. You've probably already, um, you know, stepped outside of your comfort zone of peace, and they're making a spectacle out of you. At that point, they're saying, "Oh, look at this crazy person." So that's what they're doing to this stranger. So the judge is telling him to pay, and the guy's like, "I'll pay you if you think you're interpreting a dream, but I want my stuff back." Long story short, he never gets his stuff back. He pays the money and then he leaves. Uh, and then he says, "Yeah, now you gotta, not only that, you have to pay me for the meals that you ate." So now he's gotta pay for the meals that he ate. And let's see. And Hadad replied before the judge and said to the man, "Did I not tell you the interpretation? Blah, blah, blah." And the man cried the words of Hadad. Oh, and then, yep. And then because the traveler felt crazy, he started getting loud, and then Hadad got loud, and then they started quarreling in front of the judge, and the judge was like, "Y'all both need to get up out of here." So they both quarreled until they got to the street. So now that's what the narcissist does too, is that they make it so it's like a big spectacle and nobody wants to deal with any of you, right? And then they also drive you back to where they have somebody that's going to side with them because maybe they've been a friend of theirs for a while, and they've been treated well by that person for whatever reason, probably to be used in the future. So they go quarreling out of the courtroom into the city. Now they're on a different turf. Now the judge has said, "I don't care what y'all do, just get away from me. The matter is not settled." Okay. And then he goes, oh, so they're out in the street, and then the people of the city do like they do to every other stranger, and they start saying, "Well, what y'all fighting about? Oh, you fighting with her dad? You the stranger fighting with our boy?" And they started yelling and kicking the stranger out of town, saying, "Get out of here. You're disrespecting our city and you don't even belong here." So they send this bitter soul off who's just like lost everything. I'm sure that mantle was something expensive. And so they send him out, and he's now a bitterness of soul. So they're just corrupt through and through. Uh so the whole city was corrupt. Everybody. Um okay, here we go. And the cities of Sodom had four. So that was another story, right? And so here's this one. Oh, the cities are called Sharkad, Gomorrah, Zabnak, and Admah, and Minon and Zeboim. And I actually saw a documentary where it shows the rubble from the aftermath of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they even show that there's like salt pillars nearby because they're going to show. because that's when the angels destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife turned back around and she became a pillar of salt, and there are salt pillars over there. I don't I don't know. They explain something about that, but that stuff's there. And this book is old, so these this was around before the compilation of the Bible, telling about Sodom and Gomorrah. So this backs up what they found. They probably use this to find out what the setup of the city. So says, and by desire of the four judges, here's another thing that they used to do to the people. And by desire of their four judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the city. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him to lie in them. So they forced men. They have beds in the streets, you guys. You know where else they have like beds in the streets is in traps. Tourist they're traps. um, when you go to different countries in Asia, Asian countries, yeah, all the Asian countries that I've seen, like documentaries and stuff. So, anyways, like there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that's been doing now, you guys think, oh, this world's gone crazy. No, this world's been crazy. Okay, this world has been crazy. So they forced him to lie in the bed. As he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet and measure him by the length of the bed. And if the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end, and he would cry out to them, and they would not answer him. So they stretched him to death. So if you was shorter than these beds that they had up in the street, and you're a stranger, they would just put you in it, force you to lay down in it, and stretch you to the ends of it. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw to. So this one I don't understand, but maybe it's just the way they explain it. It says, and if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed at each end until the man had reached the gates of death. And I bet you that means that if he was too long, they would probably like stretch him up under, anything to do to stretch you to the lengths where you were not able to breathe. They would do this to strangers that came in their city. All right. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, thus shall it be done to a man that cometh to our land. So if you were a man, they're going to stretch you to death. And when men heard all these things that people in the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. So I feel like, did people even leave there? Shoot, that's torture. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold. Check this out. They would give him silver and gold and cause a proclamation in the whole city to not give him a morsel of bread to eat. That's just evil. Give a man a bunch of money and then tell everybody in the city not to trade with him. Can you imagine being like, oh, I got some money, and then everybody turns you away? You feel crazy. You would feel crazy. But it gets worse. Cause proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if the stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death, all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold back. Bruh. They would take their they would take their silver and gold back, which they had given to him. And those that could recognize the silver or gold which they had given them took it back. And at his death, they would also strip him of his garments, and they would fight about them. And he that prevailed over his neighbor took them. So they would. So once you go to Gomorrah, you don't leave. This is the horror movie. This is how they. This is a horror movie. Another banger. This is a horror movie. Um, What is it? What is a movie like that? Isn't that a movie, The Hills Have Eyes? I don't watch horror movies, but when I did, if I did catch one, I think I saw The Hills Have Eyes. Why? But that sounds like something they would do. Is like once you go there, you really don't come back out. They're gonna do something to you. Let's see. They would they would after that carry him and bury him under some of the shrubs in the desert. So they did all the days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. They just throw you in the bushes. And in the okay. Oh, oh my God, this is another thing that they did. So so the reason why they talk about this city is because in the future after this, obviously Sodom and Gomorrah get destroyed, but this is where Abraham at the time was living. Now Lot lived in Sodom because him and Abraham got into it. Lot is Abraham's nephew. They got into it, and Lot was like, "Fine, I'm just gonna go down to the city." And he lived in Sodom, so I think maybe he just kept to himself or something. But like, but the whole world was wicked, so there's not a lot of places he could go, basically. But he's just chilling there. He just lived there. So there's a story in here where it shows that Abraham's wife Sarah, which is Lot's auntie, because Abraham and Sarah were cousins. All right, they were cousins. So actually, was Lot his cousin or his nephew? I'm pretty sure it was his nephew. It was his nephew. Anyway, so Sarah, but I think that was her brother. Like I think Lot was Sarah's brother, something like that. But Sarah sent somebody to check on Lot because that was her direct family somehow. I don't remember how exactly. It's either her brother or her like nephew. I don't know. Sorry. I just read it, but I forgot. So she sends this dude out named Eliezer, right? And when Eliezer gets there, he sees this guy being mean to some poor man and he takes his clothes, right? So Eliezer's like, what the heck? Eliezer is a visitor. You know what they do to visitors, right? That's when the sun goes down, by the way. All that stuff I just read, that's what happens when the sun goes down and you still left in the city. So Eliezer went there in the daytime and saw this, sodomite messing with this poor man, right? And then he goes to help him. And it shows that when he went to go help the dude, I'm sorry, when he went to go tell the bully, hey, why are you doing this to the old man? It says the guy hit Eliezer in the forehead and it started to bleed. Then he goes, oh my God, it's so funny. It's not funny, but he says, give me thy hire for having rid thee of his bad blood that was in thy forehead. Basically, he said, pay me for hitting you in the head, as it was the custom. And Eliezer, who's not from there, he was like, are you crazy? He said, and the, oh my God, well, how did he say it? He said something like, are you crazy? Why would I pay you for hitting me in the head? And so he takes him to the judge, right? And the judge is looking at them and the sodomite goes, I hit this man in the head and he didn't pay me. And Eleazar is like, I didn't even quarrel with the man, but you want me to pay him after he hit me in the head? And the judge goes, yes, that's the custom here. So Eleazar busts the judge's head with a rock. He busts the judge's head with a rock and he was like, now you can pay me and I'll pay. I'm such a dork. Why am I laughing at this? Look, he said he hit the judge. It was like, why don't you pay me and I'll pay him? Or he says, why don't you pay him what you owe me and we're good. And he walks up out the court. He walks out the court. That's Sodom. Not only are they wicked, their laws are dumb, and bruh, that just doesn't make no sense. So, anyways, that the whole town is corrupt, and you can see just how idiotic it all is. It don't make no sense. These people are just kind of making up laws. You beat someone and then they have to pay you after you hit them. That's the kind of stuff that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. So yeah, it says he smote the judge. It was like, now you can pay him what you owe me. Funny. Let's see. Then there's another one where, okay, they talk about Lot. So these are all the stories of why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Okay. There's more. Now this story has to do with Lot's daughter. So apparently Lot had a daughter. And let's see. The first daughter, right? His first daughter left the man. So okay, so Eliezer left, right? Okay, it says at that time the wife of Lot bare him a daughter and called her name Piltith, saying because God had delivered him and his whole household, blah blah blah. It says, and a poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance, and he remained in the city some days. And all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation because of their custom, not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth. And so they did. So during this time, of course, this man came in. They probably gave him silver and gold, and they were just waiting for him to die. And the daughter and Paltith, the daughter of Lot, saw this man laying in the streets, starved with hunger, and with no one to give him anything to keep him alive, and he was just there at the point of death. And her soul was filled with pity on account of the man, and she fed him secretly with bread and water for many days. Excuse me. And then they tell how she did it. And then there was 3 spies, and then they started to wonder, like, okay, this dude hasn't died yet. He's actually thriving, and he's a lot longer because they're used to watching people die. So they know just how long it takes for these people to die that come into their town. And they're like, hey, this guy hasn't died yet. Is somebody feeding him or something? Or who broke the law and helped a stranger? So they sent 3 men spied on the man for a period of time, and they saw that Paltith brought food to this man somehow. She secretly brought food to this man. It says, so they took Paltith and brought her before their judges and said to them, thus did she do, and it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore he did not die all this time, and now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law. And the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the street of the city, and they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. So they burned Lot's daughter, his first daughter. And you guys remember the story of Lot, how after they destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, he had 2 daughters at that point. But for this one, one of his daughters was burned. And then there was another one. I think this is the last one. There was another person who did a similar thing. A man came into town and asked her for a drink, and she said to him, so this is after that, this woman named Adma, and she asked, a stranger was coming through, asked for a drink of water, and she said to him, who are you? And he said to her, I was going on this road and reached here when the sun set, so I will abide here for the night, and in the morning I will rise up and leave and be on my way. And the young woman went in the house, fetched the man bread and water to eat and drink. And this became known to the judges. So they brought her before the judge, or somebody brought her in. And the judge said, the judgment of death must pass upon this woman because she transgressed our law, and it is the decision concerning her. And the people of the cities assembled and brought out the young woman and anointed her with honey from head to foot as the judge had decreed. And they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were in their hives, and the bees flew upon her and stung her so that her whole body was swelled. And the young woman cried out on account of the bees, but no one took notice of her or pitied her. They didn't even pity her. Jeez. Like how wicked, how far does that wickedness go? That you would see somebody being tortured and you just and her cries ascended to heaven. Now, that sentence right there happens quite a lot. I'm going to get back to that. And the Lord was provoked at this and at all the works of the cities of Sodom of Sodom, for they had abundance of food and had tranquility amongst them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy, and in those days their evil doings and sins became great before the Lord. And the Lord sent for the 2 angels that had came to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. And the reason why I say that the cries ascended into heaven is because in other stories, innocent blood, ooh, God hears the blood of the innocent. He hears the cries. When I think about all those babies that get hurt, I'm not talking about babies, I'm talking about children and innocent people that go missing and are tortured and they're later found. Um, and just the cries of the innocent. If you guys don't think their blood is being avenged, think again. God does not. Mm. You think that because you hear stories about people being free and they didn't get caught for 50 years, that they don't have something coming for them? It does. There's no limit to time and space when it comes to God. It doesn't matter if it's a year or 50 years. What's coming to you is going to be worse than if it was swift or if it took a long time. Don't you dare worry about that. So for those people out there, the narcissists of the world that just keep on keeping on, and they keep destroying lives, and they keep um, targeting people, and they keep thinking that nothing really happened, and they think that consequence is not that bad. Just you wait, because you just racking up them points in heaven. I mean, in hell. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you're all gonna go to hell if you've been mean or cruel, but because there is help for everybody, right? In the right way, there is salvation for everybody, unfortunately. But when your wickedness runs that deep, uh you probably just don't belong to the kingdom. And people have to understand that too, that there's just people in this world that will not be saved. And by saved, I pretty much mean that not everybody in this world um, belongs in heaven. Think about it. Think about it. If you would you let somebody? And I know this is like that's a human perspective trying to talk about God, but like if you were the head of your household and you're the leader of your household, and there's a person that's like a klepto and they can't help it, but they're always stealing stuff. They're always lying. You're gonna send them away. They can't stay with you. They can't abide in your home because they're destroying it. They're disobedient. They know that they're wrong, but they continue to do things and they feel that there's no consequence. Don't you have to send them away politely with love? You can either be mad or do it with love, but you're still going to send them out. They cannot stay there. That's how the kingdom of heaven is. If your wickedness runs that deep where you won't just stop your evil ways, there's no place for you. What's the Bible verse that is always stuck in my head, and I don't even know what verse it is, but it's come, I have prepared a place for you. There's a place prepared for everyone, but everyone can't abide there because of what they're about. I don't know just because I love God and I want to be obedient and all this stuff, I don't know if I'm going to heaven, but I'm going to do everything that I can to the best of my ability. I want God to show me, his glory, his wisdom and knowledge. So I know that I can do that for me because I love my family. I want them to go there too. I want something good for them. Um, so I'm learning all that, right? But I don't even know. You got to repent and you got to do some things because if God is preparing a place for you, we got to prepare ourselves too. We're not prepared if we sitting here doing whatever we want and being wicked and just living our lives, just being wicked. You think that just because you don't do things like they did in Sodom and Gomorrah, that like you're all good? You could be a liar, you could be a cheater. You think all those little white lies don't add up if you don't have a repentant heart, if you're not saying like, okay, I know that that's bad and being honest with yourself. Anyways, I don't know why I got off into that. I think mostly because narcissism is just it's just an evil, ugly thing. And I didn't realize it. My father is a narcissist. And I think that's a newer term. It's not something that was used a lot when I was growing up. It was, um, maybe the word sociopath or psychopath was used, but narcissism has a definition that I think pinpoints a personality type. And if it's a personality type, it's probably a spiritual thing. If you can check the boxes of a personality type, it's probably affected by a certain spirit because of the spirits. If you ever get into reading about them, they have characteristics. They affect certain parts of the body. They have mannerisms. Anyways, so those are the wicked things that got Sodom and Gomorrah and that block of 5 cities destroyed and burnt to the ground because they were just out of pocket. They were so out of pocket. Not only a little bit, but they were bad and they kept getting to where even their judges and rulers were just like, it made no sense. It was a horror movie. It was a horror movie and it had to be destroyed. So much so that God would just destroy it before the judgment of the world. That's how bad it was. Anyways, so that's why they went. That's why Lot was spared, is because he was part of Abraham's family. And I bet you the people that lived in Sodom, they were descendants of Ham that was cursed, and they lived their lives without God. So the wickedness just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Anyways, I might put this on YouTube so that way I can shorten it for the parts um that I trailed off on. But Sodom was way more wicked than the Holy Bible shows because they don't go into all the instances of what they did and the laws of that city. And I'm sure there's other books, but the book I was reading from was called The Ancient Book of Jasher. And the reason why I like reading this book is because it's the text that the people used before the Holy Bible was written. So if you want to know what these people in the Bible were learning, it was from books like the book of Jasher, because it was also mentioned in Joshua, Samuel, and Timothy, which are the New Testaments. Oh no, well, Joshua is not New Testament, but I think y'all get what I'm saying. Anyways, I still might go and talk about Abraham because I wanted to put it on YouTube, but I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Stay blessed. Take it easy.